And there just seemed to be this huge gap in the middle of the country. And as these markets like New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maryland, DC, right, like as these markets were maturing, obviously California was super mature. It kind of felt like there's this void, right? Like you fly over the middle of the country and like the markets didn't exist. And so the thesis for the show was let's build a platform that's going to get folks in market to convene, right, do business together and meet and connect, right? But let's also bring all these companies on the coast that have done it, that have built it, that are more mature into these markets and get them to help catalyze investment and bring expertise, know-how, technology, bring the goods to the middle of the country to help get these markets going.
Are you speeding the energy transition? Here at the Clean Power Hour, our host Tim Montague bring you the best in solar, batteries, and clean technologies every week. Want to go deeper into decarbonization? We do too. We're here to help you understand and command the commercial, residential, and utility solar, wind, and storage industries. So let's get to it. Together we can speed the energy transition.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 8 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS product lineup includes string inverters ranging from 25 kW to 350 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 350 kW, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. CPS is the world's most bankable inverter brand and is America's #1 choice for solar plants, now offering solutions for commercial, utility, ESS, and balance of system requirements. Go to chintpowersystems.com or call 855-584-7168 to find out more. Today on the Clean Power Hour, we're giving you a preview of the Midwest Solar Expo, June 9 to 11 in Chicago, Illinois. My guest today is Jake Rozmaryn, the founder, the owner, or recently ex-owner. Welcome to the show, Jake.
Always a pleasure sitting down with Tim.
Well, let's get the cat out of the bag. Congratulations. You have officially sold the Midwest Solar Expo to Intersolar. Thank you, Intersolar. And what's the story there, Jake?
The story, it was really synergistic. Been running the show for 10 years. Started the show in Minnesota, moved it to Chicago. Intersolar is a world-class, event organization owned by Diversified Communications. Intersolar is a world-class event organization, unbelievable reputation, unbelievable leadership. And when they started to build out their regional event strategy, obviously they have their flagship Intersolar North America show. They launched Intersolar Texas, kind of got my head scratched, and I'm like, okay, well, probably starting to build out, some regional shows, and it's just an incredible platform to plug into. I've known the people at Intersolar for 10, 15 years at this point. And so it was just very synergistic, really the perfect place, to look after this baby, we've grown into a really dominant regional event.
And just in case you don't know, and you're listening to this, the Midwest Solar Expo started in the Twin Cities in Minnesota and then moved to Chicago a couple of years ago. But it's been a Minnesota event largely.
It was a Minnesota event. This is our third year in Chicago. So, the first 7 or 8 events were in Minnesota, which made a ton of sense at the time. With Minnesota had a ton of policy leadership, particularly around things like community solar and the value of solar, tariff and a variety of other things in that market. And then, Illinois, there's just a ton of momentum in Illinois. And so, we decided it was the right time. And, the show basically doubled in size after the move to Illinois, which was incredible. The market was super, super receptive.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a big fan of the move. I have nothing against the Twin Cities. I love going to the Twin Cities, but it is harder to get to the Twin Cities than it is to the city of Chicago, I will say. So I think for the national audience that we do a draw here in the Midwest. It's great to have the event in Chicago. And real quick, I want to give a shout out to the expo sponsors. The host sponsor is Powering Chicago. That is an IBEW NECA organization. Thank you, NECA. And then many other sponsors, including Nautilus Solar, Nelnet Renewable Energy Evolution, Solar Edge, Solar Simplified, Summit Ridge Energy, TerraSmart, Trajectory Energy Partners, Turning Point Energy, United Brotherhood of Carpenters, Windfree Solar, Goshen, Green Tech Renewables, Mars Energy, and that's it. Thank you all sponsors.
That's it. No, it's incredible. It's incredible to have such amazing support. So many sponsors coming back, year after year. And the show's just benefited so much from all of their support. And, I think we've worked really hard to, bring value to each and every one of them in different ways.
So I think of the Midwest Expo as a DG-focused event. There is content at the event for utility, distributed generation, meaning community solar, rooftop solar, and even residential solar. But so the heart of it is DG. Solar and storage is definitely a theme that is just building. I like to say that if you're a solar professional, you need to be a solar and storage professional because they are just the peanut butter and jelly of energy. What are you looking forward to most about the event?
I think the diversity of content is always gets me excited, right? Like we work really hard to make sure that we've got compelling content, compelling speakers, industry engagement from across the value chain. So, there's always a nice resi, contingent. There's always a nice C&I contingent, nice utility contingent. Obviously, you can't talk about Illinois or, a lot of the Midwest at this point without, recognizing the community solar leadership, which is really remarkable. Particularly in places like Illinois. And so, we work really hard to diversify the content. I think a lot of it comes down to like the things that get me really excited are like, where are those big areas that are gaining momentum, right? That have huge implications for the industry. So, content on virtual power plants is always, it's super compelling, super interesting right now. You can't really have a clean energy show without talking about the explosive growth of AI and data centers, right? I mean, like that
For sure.
Everywhere. So I think those are some of the things that get me particularly excited. But it's a very interesting time for the industry. There's a lot of transition, I mean, you and I have been around the space for a long time, right? We started here and we're here. The path has looked like this, right? And we're definitely in a definitely in turbulent times right now. But I think what's very clear, despite all of the turbulence and the headwinds that everyone's facing, is that these are market-driven solutions, and they're going to continue to be directed by the market. And I think that's going to be a message that comes through across the show, right? Like these, hey, like regardless of what's happened at a federal level or in various states, we're marching forward. And I think that's exciting, and it's a theme that's going to carry through throughout the show.
We've got some great keynote speakers. I have the privilege of interviewing Norm Taff, the president of energy technology at Generac, and Doug Scott, chair of the Illinois Commerce Commission, which is our PUC. Amazing. And then I see that Dean Solon, founder and CEO of Create Energy, is a speaker. Dean is in the process of launching a very interesting solar panel company called Create. And then a couple of other
legend, right?
Sorry. I know, right?
Such a legend guy. It's going to be amazing to have him on the stage. I can't believe we're 11 years in. It's our first time getting the legend on our stage, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of hanging out a little bit with him in Boston at RE Plus Northeast, and he is He is just quite a character. Um, and so you can look forward to that. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to be speaking about, but it will not be boring.
No, no.
That is for sure. And then shout out to Sunny Elubua at Exelon, Senior Vice President of Chief and Strategy Sustainability Officer, and Melissa Washington, Chief Customer Service Officer at ComEd. So we have Exelon and ComEd also. Yeah.
And how awesome is that? I mean, like they've always attended the show, but they've gotten significantly more engaged in recent years, and there really does seem to be a very genuine interest in the growth and development of these markets. And last year they ran a solar summit um, uh, during the Midwest Solar Expo, which was basically like an open forum to talk to developers. And I think we had something like 150 developers show up to have a candid conversation about the challenges that they're facing and what kinds of solutions they want to see. And it was just like this collaborative session where you had one of the biggest utilities in the country basically being like, how can we help you? How can we be better? Right? Like how unique is that? So I was really encouraged by that last year. And they're going to be doing some interesting things at the event this year. They're going to be focused on meeting, very similar meeting with developers around the show, and have the privilege of having two very senior executives from both Exelon and ComEd, grace the keynote stage this year.
And that begs the question, where is Ameren in the mix? Why is not Ameren able to be there? Do we know?
They have participated in the past, but yeah, I don't know. We'd love to see them next year.
Yeah.
Playing a more active role. But I think ComEd and Exelon's a great place to be this year.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 8 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS product lineup includes string inverters ranging from 25 kW to 350 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 350 kW, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. CPS is the world's most bankable inverter brand and is America's #1 choice for solar plants, now offering solutions for commercial, utility, ESS, and balance of system requirements. Go to chintpowersystems.com or call 855-584-7168 to find out more. I think it is so vital for the utilities to be in dialogue with the industry and vice versa. It's a two-way street. We can learn from one another. Nobody's perfect, and we ultimately have to work together to execute the clean energy transition. We are completely interconnected. So, to use a key phrase from the industry.
Fun word there, Tim.
What can I say? I'm curious, Jake, having run this event for 10 years, that's quite an arc of experience. First of all, why on earth did you create the Midwest Expo, and what do you hope will happen with the Expo moving forward now under the tutelage of Intersolar?
Yeah. So when we started the Expo, I was living in DC. I was very involved with at the time was Maryland, DC, and Virginia SEIA chapter, which is now called CHESA, Chesapeake Solar Association. And I was running their solar conference called Solar Focus, which maybe you've been to at some point. It's a great event, it's typically in like the Maryland, DC area. And what we observed is I was going to PV, what was it called? PV America East and PV America West. I was going to Intersolar. I was going to, at the time SPI, right? And all of these shows were on the coasts, right? Or our SPI was often in Vegas, but
Yep.
everything was happening on the coast, and there's just seemed to be this huge gap in the middle of the country. And as these markets like New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maryland, DC, right, as these markets were maturing, obviously California was super mature. It kind of felt like there's this void, right? Like, you fly over the middle of the country and like the markets didn't exist. And so the thesis for the show was, let's build a platform that's going to get folks in market to convene, right, do business together and meet and connect, right? But let's also bring all these companies on the coast that have done it, that have built it, that are more mature into these markets and get them to help catalyze investment and bring expertise, know-how, technology, bring the goods to the middle of the country to help get these markets going. And so, I mentioned earlier on, like Minnesota was becoming this like, kind of becoming really a policy leader. So it made sense to start there. But then other markets started to pick up around the Midwest. And I think that was something that was really special about this show, is that you had obviously tons of people in the Midwest, but you had all these people from the coasts that were, very, very interested in market development, very interested in, creating something from the ground up. And so if you look at like the attendance makeup of this show, right, like it's very high percent of people that are coming from around the country, right? It's obviously you have tons of people from the Midwest. Obviously, it's the Midwest Solar Expo, but you had a ton of people coming from all over the country with an interest in these markets. And so, we built it up, and last year we had almost 1,000 people at the show. It was incredible, amazing energy. It was the biggest event to date. And so we looked at that. We looked at all that growth, and kind of like, we're small. This is a small operation. It was not my full-time job, right? And kind of looked at that and said, what's next? Like, how can we continue to build on that thesis, right? Of like continuing to catalyze momentum in the middle of the country. Obviously, these markets have come a long way, right, over the last 11 years. But Intersolar was really like the perfect platform. If you look up the makeup now of exhibitors, there's tons of new first-time exhibitors that are being introduced to the market because of the larger Intersolar platform, right? And so Intersolar it's not just a national platform, it's a global platform. So it continues to build on that original thesis of the show, with partners that are just so invested in the success of the industry, and have been for so long. And so that was really compelling to me. It really felt like we were able to, continue to do what we started out to do, right? But just with I mean, like the Intersolar team is massive. There's so many resources to do just interesting things and flex, creatively in different ways. They have their own, incredible relationships, and so that really, that really got me excited about kind of handing the baton onto to another group. And I'm still very much involved, as an advisor, and obviously, been doing this a long time.
Well, and Intersolar has an amazing legacy, right? Their event in Intersolar Europe is kind of the grandfather
The show in the world.
of solar events, and so they've been playing second fiddle to RE Plus, with their major event, but they're catching up now here in the U.S., and it's great to see them creating some regional events. And congrats to you. The thing that I look forward to most about this is both the diversity of the audience, getting to rub shoulders with community solar developers, installers, EPCs, manufacturers, of course, and catching up on what's going on across the Midwest. Of course, I keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on, but I always come away with some fresh new takes on when is Michigan going to pop? When is Ohio going to pop? When is Missouri going to pop? I mean, there's already healthy, mostly residential markets across the Midwest, but community solar, for example, is a floodgate that needs to get opened elsewhere now in Wisconsin, Michigan, Missouri. Hopefully someday Indiana. That's my birthplace, but Indiana is a bit of a slow mover right now, I would say. And then Also, solar and storage. There's quite a bit of storage content here, so that'll be juicy and relevant for both behind the meter and I think front of the meter. What else should we let our listeners know, Jake, in our last couple of minutes together about what they can look forward to at the expo?
It's a good question. I mean, this is a really important time for people to be coming together, unifying their voice, really being, providing fellowship and camaraderie to folks in the industry that are, that are struggling with the current environment. And it's gonna be an amazing show. We've got amazing content as always. It's gonna be amazing people there. But this is a time where we really need, more than, in maybe the last, I've been in this industry 15, 16 years, maybe more than ever, we need people, coming together and having a unified voice and, collectively punching above our weight. Not that we're lightweights anymore, right? But it's just really important to come together right now. And so I think that's going to be really important, and I think people are going to really appreciate, the insights, the knowledge sharing, and the camaraderie of the Midwest Solar Expo. It's always been such a good party. It's a party show, It's always a good time. It's always a great time. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really important right now. Probably more than maybe more than ever. So excited to see everyone in a few weeks, and yourself included, Tim. Appreciate all of your support of the show over the years, and I'm glad we're able to have you back on the stage multiple times at this year's event. But yeah, can't wait. I'm super pumped.
Yeah, just want to encourage anybody who, as far as exhibiting goes, there are booths available. So just check out MidwestSolarExpo.com, go to the exhibitor page. Shout out to Nico Johnson, who will be on site doing some interviews and recording in the Suncast Media Stage on the exhibition floor. And that's a great opportunity to get exposure for your company, your brand, and but yeah, all the major
ways to get involved for sure.
So many ways. Well, I want to thank you, Jake Rozmaryn, founder and organizer of the Midwest Expo, for sharing this time with me. And with that said, let's grow solar and storage. Take care, Jake.
Let's do it. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by CPS America, maker of North America's #1 three-phase string inverter, with over 8 gigawatts shipped in the U.S. The CPS product lineup includes string inverters ranging from 25 kW to 350 kW. Their flagship inverter, the CPS 350 kW, is designed to work with solar plants ranging from 2 megawatts to 2 gigawatts. CPS is the world's most bankable inverter brand and is America's #1 choice for solar plants, now offering solutions for commercial, utility, ESS, and balance of system requirements. Go to chintpowersystems.com or call 855-584-7168 to find out more.